Hello, my quilting and sewing friends. My name is Leah Day, and I have a new stitching template for you. This is called the Decorative Stitch Swatcher. It is designed to mark a 5-inch pre-cut square or any 5-inch cut square of fabric. It's designed to help you test your decorative stitches so you can begin using them on your sewing and quilting projects. So how did this idea come about? I was unboxing my ever sewn Celine, and I started playing around with a lot of decorative stitches on the machine on this little 5-inch pre-cut square. And I suddenly thought, this is perfect. This is a great way to test my decorative stitches, know what they're going to look like, and then I'm that much more likely to actually start using them in my projects. I also designed it with a little buttonhole in the corner so that way I can keep all of my swatches organized on a little ring, and that way they don't get lost. A lot of times when I'm playing with the machine and trying out something like decorative stitches, I'll stitch randomly on some bits of fabric and then it'll just end up floating around my sewing room, my studio, until I get annoyed with it and throw it away. This is a way of keeping the information organized, and it is information. It's very, very important information about each machine that we have that have those decorative stitches. Not only does it change what you're using, let's say 100% cotton fabric versus a knit fabric, which I've been playing with too, because I've just finished a t-shirt quilt, a baby quilt made out of Betty's onesies. So I started playing with decorative stitches on knit fabric, on cotton fabric, playing with it in a quilt. So a thick batting is going to have a totally different stitch out versus a thin batting. And all of this information you can stitch, test, find the stitch that you want, and then save the swatch on a ring. So that way if you ever want to grab another quilt, make another garment with those materials, you don't have to test again. You know exactly what's going to work. So let's get started learning how to use this template, testing decorative stitches with a variety of materials. I want to teach you how to get the most out of the Decorative Stitch Swatcher. Now this template is super, super easy to use. You just place it on your fabric, a pre-cut 5-inch square or a 5-inch square you've cut out of scrap fabric, and then you're going to mark around the template first. You're going to mark all the way around the outline and then mark all of the lines on the insides. I have a little rectangle here for you to record the stitch number, and then a little small line here in the corner for a buttonhole. This line down at the bottom is for you to write the name of your machine if you don't have a built-in alphabet, or to stitch it. And I will be honest, it is actually pretty challenging to learn how to do this, and I had to refer to my machine manual many times. I not only stitched it, I also programmed it into the machine so I can easily stitch it again and again. So definitely refer to your machine manual whenever it comes to stitching out your machine name on that line. So once you get all of those lines drawn onto your fabric, the next step is to pick out, okay, what are you going to stitch this to? You know, are you testing for sewing? Are you going to sew this particular fabric to another fabric of similar weight and type? If that's the case, go on ahead and grab another piece, whatever that fabric is, and layer those together. Now, a little tip. You may need stabilizer. So here is a piece that I did with just 2 pieces, 100% cotton fabric, no stabilizer, and you can see those more satiny heavy stitches ended up pulling. I would not have known this without swatching and testing. So obviously I needed some more stabilizer. So I put some French fuse, just some lightweight tricot knit interfacing on the inside. And then this is stitched out again. Just one layer of interfacing was able to stabilize the fabrics enough that they stitched out perfectly. So you kind of have to just test, you know, mark the lines and then start wherever your decorative stitches start on your machine. Just start playing with them. It's up to you how much writing you put on the swatches. Here I was playing with not only writing the numbers here, but writing the numbers each on the stitch. And while it's not as pretty, you know, as these, I actually like the information better on this one because I know exactly which stitch is which. So if I want to grab a particular stitch, I don't have to sit there and count. You know, so I'm going to probably end up marking all of these with the stitches right there. All right, so let's talk about this for quilting. What if you want to actually use this for stitching a quilt? Well, you won't need stabilizer because your batting will become your stabilizer. So in that case, you're going to go ahead and layer. I would mark it first, then layer with the fluffy batting, because if you have the batting there, it's going to be really hard to mark all of those lines. And then go on ahead and make your quilt sandwich just like so. So I'm going to take this to my machine. I am going to use a walking foot for testing this. And the reason is this is super, super thick. This is Quilter's Dream Puff. It is some majorly thick stuff. And if I don't use a walking foot, I don't think it's going to feed through the machine at all. But we won't know what we're going to get until we stitch it and see what's going to happen. The same thing for my baby quilt made out of Betty's onesies. Here's a little scrap of that knit fabric. You can see it's stretchy knit. It really wanted to move while I was marking it. And I've layered it here with the flannel. That's going to be the batting layer of that quilt and some minky. So this is a great way to test out all your ideas for different materials for your quilts, for your sewing projects. And now all you have to do is just stitch on the lines. In the case of this minky, I've already tested a few stitches, just trying to see what it would look like. And you can see that definitely alphabets are out. It's just the knit is too stretchy. It could also be stitching in that direction across the knit that caused that to happen. Some of these other ones look a lot better, but you notice that I started having to adjust the length and the width. So here the length is 3, here the length is probably 2. That seems to be what was built in. Again, how much information you write on your swatch is entirely up to you. More information would probably be more helpful written down so that way you can refer to it over and over again. Now, something I really want to touch on that's very, very important with this, and that is the pen that you use for marking. My typical favorite marking pens are the ceramic marking pencil from Fons and Porter and this water erasing marker. And these they work okay, but they're not ideal for swatching because erasing here, I could erase definitely, but I'm worried that that might distort some of the more delicate designs, and I don't really want to get the swatches wet to use the water erasable marker. So for this particular project, and only this project, I have found that these heat erase markers work pretty good. I have noticed ghosting, and that means that whenever I go to erase it, I take my iron and press over the fabric. I have noticed a little bit of ghosting here and there. I think that's okay. It's not too distracting on the swatch. I understand what I'm seeing when I look at that, and it's just convenience. It does mark a nice thin line. It does mark very easily on any type of fabric, and that's an advantage, but it's not a marker I would use for anything else, and certainly not on the finished product, on the garment or the quilt that I'm working on. Now, as for the permanent marks that you want to stay on your swatches, so let's say the information. So for that, you definitely want a permanent marker, and I'm using a number 3 micron Pigma pen for that. So not to be too confusing about pens, but it is important to test, play, see what you like best. But I really wanted something that would go on, mark it nicely, and then go away when I didn't need it anymore. So I hope you enjoyed this sewing tutorial, learning more about using those decorative stitches that come built into your home sewing machine. If you'd like to find this swatching template, come and check it out at leahday.com/swatch.